So this is the agenda that we'll for the session. We'll start with the welcome address given by Vaibhav from our senior alumni committee. We'll move on to the introduction of the speakers. Dinkar Gupta will be having the guest speaker talk, and then Professor Ashish will be conducting the moderated discussion. Then we will open for audience Q&A where you can freely talk with the speakers, followed by conclusion. Vaibhav, over to you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Anna. And greetings from the Alumni Committee of IIM Trichy. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to this insightful session of Gnanam Anantham 2.0. In today's fast evolving world, digital transformation is not just a trend, but a necessity. It is reshaping industries, redefining business strategies, and creating new opportunities for everyone. This session aims to explore the profound impact of digitalization and how leaders across domains are navigating this dynamic landscape. We are honored to have with us Dinkar Gupta, Chief Information and Technology Officer at KPMG Switzerland, and Professor Ashish Viswanath Prakash from IIM Trichy Information System and Analytics Department. Their insights will provide valuable perspective on leveraging technology for innovation and growth. Let's make the most of this opportunity to learn, share, and grow together. Thank you and welcome you all. Over to you, Anna.
So Gnanam Anantham is the Alumni Committee's knowledge series where we have guest talks with distinguished speakers on a variety of different topics. This is to create a platform for interaction between the alumni and distinguished speakers from diverse fields. So our guest speaker for today is Dinkar Gupta. He's the Chief Information Officer and Chief Technological Officer of KPMG Switzerland. He has over 24 years of experience in the technology domain across different fields such as professional services, automotive, pharmaceutical, and resource and communications. Over the last 17 years, he's focused on the financial services. His key expertise are enterprise architecture, cloud technology, cybersecurity, strategic change, and digital transformation. In KPMG, he leads the IT transformation to enhance business offerings in audit, tax, legal, and financial services. The expert discussion will be led by Dr. Ashish Viswanath. He's a professor here in IIM Trichy in the Information and Systems Department. His research interests are digital transformation, human-computer interaction, and AI applications. He takes a few courses here in IIM Trichy for digital transformation, data mining, and other AI topics. He's also conducted management development programs for Hyundai, TAF, and other companies.
First of all, thank you very much for inviting and team. I'm really looking forward to a topic which is pretty close to my heart. Not just the topic we'll discuss today, but also the theme of this event, Gnanam Anantham. I'm an eternal learner. I keep myself calling as the student in the Open University of Internet. It doesn't matter how much time you spend in industry, you continue to learn. So thank you for also collectively learning with you today, not just sharing what I have observed. So what I'll do is I'll start sharing my screen and then let's go through some of the experiences that hopefully will reflect with you. Let me know if you can see the slide now.
Sir, it's visible.
All right. So let's go through some of the material and hopefully it resonates with you, and then I'll open for questions. So quickly about myself, as mentioned, it's been a journey which has brought me all the way back from the mountains of India to the mountains of Switzerland. I've spent an enormous amount of time in Pune as part of my professional career, a software from education by heart as a practitioner. And now when it comes to transforming business in my firms, it's all transformation driven by technology, by pursuit of excellence in the digital space. That's been the journey I've been, and that still continues every other day as I enter my office. So it's been a wonderful journey, and hopefully what I've tried to share today, which I'll now walk through, is over the last 3 to 4 years, what I've tried to do at KPMG and what are some of the reflections that have emerged as a result of what digital transformation means when we conduct it as an ambitious pursuit within the firm, and also what I've seen some of my peers doing in industry. Yeah. All right. The very first thing, digital transformation, many people term it as digital transformation. Some of us term it as a technology pursuit. Some of us, formulate it as a business transformation. For me, it's a very simple question. It's a choice about identity. What exactly do you want to be? And there I'm heavily inspired by the Atomic Habits model, that you can bring a transformation in three ways. You can focus on outcomes. I would like to achieve X, Y, and Z. I would like to get my ERP stabilized. I would like to deliver new channels for my users. I would probably like to capture certain market share. The other thing that can happen is you can focus on processes or certain mechanisms. I would like to adopt Agile. I would like to adopt a business model canvas. I would like to adopt lean. These days, I would like everything to be high, but that's another way to look at it, but it has its own downfalls. What I have personally seen quite successful is when people transform following an identity-driven approach, which means you are after your new normal. What are you known for? What would you like to be emulate? So even in digital transformation, the way I would like to frame it, and that's the framing I've used even for transformation for us within KPMG, has been, what is digital transformation for us? Is what's our identity in that when it comes to digital? And that's very clear. We all know two examples. Apple is known to challenge the status quo. Citibank used to say a city never sleeps, but it's about you being available 24/7. When city says city never sleeps, you can access city anytime, anywhere, in any kind of scenario. Now, what is very important about is if you're taking on digital transformation, you can take all three. What I've seen most effective is when the digital transformation is addressed from an identity transformation perspective for an organization as well, not just people in that, because the other two, processes and outcomes, always have a what then issue with that. What then if you have achieved an outcome? What then if you have started using a process? That somehow still doesn't resonate as an identity transformation. So I find it quite useful that it is an identity driven change rather than pursuit of a particular method or a particular result that you want to have. Now, with that, the other topic comes to the table is everybody says, what is digital? And just like anybody, even in our journey, in my earlier career, when I was advising clients, when I was doing this transformation for clients, and now that I'm the owner of such a transformation along with my colleagues in the firm, we frame the question differently. We didn't say what is digital and what we are after. What we wanted to share is whatever is framed as digital. We have a tax business, we have an audit business, some have banking business, some are in the agriculture business, some are in manufacturing business. What we wanted to seek is, if you conduct that in a digital manner, what could be those few set of attributes which we would like to seek in such a transformation in that target state business or a organization that can tell us that we are achieving that an objective. So it's more characteristic / attribute driven approach rather than here is a definition of digital we are after. And this is a pursuit which is continuous. That's why evolutionary change is at the center of this. You will see that all these attributes either will stay sustainable over a longer period of time or may have other attributes coming into the picture when you are pursuing digital transformation in a longer run. But we are very confident since last 3 years, even in my earlier journeys, I've seen these being fairly stable. To give you a quick example how things change, number of companies in the past talked about client centricity, customer centricity. What we were after, and I still truly believe in that, is you need to have value centricity, because it's not just about client. That's one part of an organization's pursuit. You also need to be delivering value to the employees of the company, to the people who get impacted by your work. It may be your downstream supply chain, it may be your partners which are delivering value with you. It might be somebody who is receiving a second order impact of your work. So if you make it about value rather than customer, then you are not narrow focused on just customer or stakeholder value only, but you are looking at a much broader thing. The second element example here is resilience, which is very close to my heart. I'm an eternal student of resilience engineering myself, so I believe that's something so close to attribute of digital going forward that it should be part of our pursuit going forward. And what we have done at KPMG, so just to give you a quick glance, considering that when we formulate our strategy, if you consider a strategy on a page, our digital transformation strategy is essentially this. What we are after within the firm is pursuit of sustainable business agility. And you would see that digital here has nothing to do with technology, nothing to do with the word digital. What we are after is we are on a transformation journey, which makes sure that our business is able to respond to changing market condition in a sustainable manner over a period of time, right? And that requires adoption of few things. Some of them are related to technology, others are related to how we organize ourselves, some others are related to how we work with others. So there are different ways how we bring it to life. As part of the dialogue, we can throw some light on a few of these items. But it's not just technology and it's not just about digital. There are elements related to risk management. There are elements related to financial affordability of certain things, right? There are elements related to people who are involved in there. And that's why it has to be a more holistic pursuit when somebody says we are after digital transformation than just digital or technology, or as we somehow seem to claim these days, AI is digital transformation. It's way bigger pursuit than just that part. Now, what it means is that you need to consider digital transformation in a more holistic systemic view, and that poses a couple of interesting challenges. Let's look at one such challenge. And that challenge is, how do you find the right balance between two often used buzzwords, but extremely concrete elements when it comes to transformation, which is alignment and autonomy. Now, alignment is not about just organization aligning with each other. It's alignment between two different things. One is what you want to achieve. What are you after, your goal? And second, how you want to achieve. That's essentially your way of working. And it's very important that these are not considered as isolated two different things, but a degree of collaboration, the degree of alignment, and a degree of alignment on the how. So both ends and the goals. This is a very long pursuit in transformation history, not just for digital transformation, where you try to align not just on your end goal, but also how you'll achieve that goal. So that is always one big topic. And the other big topic here is, how do you achieve the necessary level of standardization and integration between different parts of your organization? The organization could be a large corporate across multiple countries. How do you align across those? Or it could be a single country organization, a single city organization, which has different business units. So a whole and a different constitutes of that. How do you bring in the level of standardization and integration between these two? And what I've seen is, whenever you are trying to do digital transformation, these two elements of how do you achieve alignment, the degree of alignment on your goals and means, and the degree of standardization and integration that you achieve have been some of the first topics coming on the table when you're trying to organize towards digital transformation, because they hit at the heart of a very important element of your organizational transformation, which is how much interdependence can you deal with and how much independence can you afford? Because that's a very crucial element when you're looking to bring change at large, right? That's something to be kept in mind whenever you are trying to deal with digital transformation. And this can only be achieved if you are conscious about taking a multidisciplinary approach. If some of you have seen my work, which is published on internet as well, I've made some presentations. That's the heart of our strategy when it comes to digital transformation. This is a multidisciplinary approach, and the discipline here are ability to design. That's one discipline, design discipline, often led by architecture. This doesn't mean technical architecture, but architecture in general sense, which includes systemic architecture, functional architecture, technical architecture, infrastructure, organizational design, everything comes in there. Second part is, of course, technology. This is digital, so technology is at the center of it. But in addition to that, if you do not organize for benefiting from that good design and technology, you won't be able to be successful. And that's why I truly believe that this intersection and interlocking of these three disciplines, how you organize for success in digital transformation, how you design your digital transformation, and how do you use technology to drive your digital transformation, is extremely crucial. And as you can see on the picture, our strategy within KPMG of sustainable business agility is actually an interlock of all three, right? And sometimes you have to make choices here again, how much of interdependency you would still like to afford when you're organizing yourself, or in case of technology, how much of independence would you like to give individual business units or individual countries, if you are a large corporate, to have choices in terms of what technology they use or what kind of standardization they use. And last but not the least, what kind of integrations are you going to allow in terms of designing these systems? Are you allowing each country to have a different system and then integrate across, or you are going to follow a common blueprint which is natively integrated and you have lesser choice available? So as I said earlier, that challenge of interdependence and independence is handled through an intersection of organization design, architecture, and technology. And this is crucial based on our experience so far and a number of other colleagues in industry forums where I participate. That sets turn out to be the area where people find most of their challenges, and they try to solve towards these challenges when they say they are carrying out digital transformation exercises. There are two very important elements of that I would like to highlight today. Of course, we don't have time to do a big presentation. Dialogue is more important, but one very critical is leadership. And this is not about, I'm not talking about a general leadership, right, as leading people. Here I'm talking about often contested topic, who is the boss? Who is leading this? Who is deciding? And that's a problem I've always seen happening in every organization. And what happens is this is typically a conflict between three distinct areas of leadership here. One is who is accountable for ultimate value delivery or outcomes coming out of a pursuit. Second is who's going to be accountable for what exactly is designed? What is the quality of what's coming out? Is it meeting the expectations? Is it delivering the value that you expected in the right quality? And who is responsible and accountable for driving execution? And that's the outputs and the flow. So as you see on this triangle, this is a model which I've spoken on a lot of times, and we have been practicing it for a while now. What we call is a multidisciplinary leadership team. And the idea is that I don't need a leader. I'm needing leadership bandwidth. So I'm establishing a leading team rather than a leader. And this team over individual choice is an extremely important thing because one, you extend your leadership bandwidth, you have diversity of leadership, and third, you are balancing the three primary elements, balancing for value, quality, and flow. Not having one or the other take the primary spot or the center spot in discussions or decisions, but a balance between all three. And this is also the heart of the modern approach to taking a more product-centric or service-centric approach to delivering business value. And most of the digital transformations are now leaning towards such a model where you have a collective ownership by a team of leaders rather than a single leader who is in charge of delivering a particular portfolio or a particular transformational initiative. And the second part is very closely connected to how you make decisions. You have multiple people now, you have multiple leaders. How do you make a decision? And here is one practical day-to-day decision-making framework which I use every other day. This Friday, I used it for making some decisions. My colleagues use it every day. So just want to share if you have probably seen it earlier. And this is based on a very simple scenario. In any corporate situation, small, medium, anyway, you will have certain boundary conditions, certain constraints, and you have to respect those constraints. And the two most important constraints that always are there are about the budget, time, money, investment, or the time that you need to meet, which means time to market. You have to meet certain regulatory timelines. There is a cost of delay if you do not hit a particular time. So there's always this boundary around constraints. On the other hand, you get to have a choice. The choice is about which aspects of your scope you would like to now make a compromise on. It's a trade-off analysis again, right? And there are two very simple dimensions here. One is the scope of your digital transformation initiative, scope of that next project that you're doing, scope of what functionality you can deliver on your product. And second part is, if you deliver that scope, with what quality aspects you can trade off to be delivered later than today, or maybe not delivered because in the constraints of my time and quality, I cannot afford to deliver that quality, right? We all are aware of the tiers of different services. That essentially comes from that area that I cannot deliver a particular quality of service at a certain price point. So this is a simple framework that I've seen quite handy and being used, and it is also inspired from two time-tested frameworks. If you've read the book called Art of Action, it follows a pretty old Persian military model of mission command. And the second is empowered execution model, which comes from the work that was done by General McChrystal and team of teams in US Navy. So the critical part on this is this centerpiece where you do decision making in a trade-off style. where if you are an organization in early stage of this maturity in your digital transformation, you can go for a mediated model in which you can bring some experts who can help you make this decision, which over a period of time can start to take a bit of a back role, can start just facilitating. And over a period of time, the team can become a lot more autonomous team, considering these elements can self-decide how to decide on priorities, on investments, on addressing certain risks, or building certain digital features, or not launching certain products or certain capabilities. And in my example, for example, for just demonstration, there were few teams when we implemented, they started to work with mediated model, and now some of my teams automatically make their decisions using such a framework. And this is a framework we follow day in, day out. So just wanted to share two elements of digital transformation management as such. Now, one other aspect which is very crucial, and I said leadership to me is crucial in this stage, is you can carry on digital transformation. You can talk about AI, you can talk about cloud, you can talk about all the tech stuff. I'm a techie, so I do that every day. But what I got most inspired from was, if I have to succeed in digital era, the inspiration actually came from some other place, and that was US Navy. US Navy have a model of leadership development called a 3C model, which talks that if you want to be a leader in this era, where, VUCA and other terms, I think all of you have read, so I'm not going to talk about it. If you really want to address that, you need three important bases for succeeding as a leader. The first of that is competence. If you are an engineer, if you are a plant manager, if you are a general manager, if you are a security expert, if you are a risk expert, if you do not have the core competence on that, you cannot be leader. That's the core of this. On the other hand, you also need an extremely strong character. And character here doesn't mean your character trait from a morality perspective. It means being able to handle different aspects that come with leadership. Can you think beyond immediate system? Do you have systems thinking mindset? Can you handle complexity? Can you navigate it? Can you build resilience into your teams and your systems? Do you have a growth mindset? Are you culturally sensitive that you may have colleagues and participants in a digital transformation, not necessarily from your area or from your kind of organization? And that's the character part. The third thing is, which is very close, is how you build your social capital. So that's essentially strength of your community. Do you have leadership communities you participate in, from where you learn, where you contribute? What about your professional community? If you are a cloud expert in a tech sense, or if you are a FinOps experts who is in a financial community, or you are an expert in risk, which are the communities you deal with? Do you have such community to go back on? What about your personal community? And this is purely human. Can you rely on each other when there are times which are not strong? And this comes very strongly from Navy, because, as you know, defense is very strong when it comes to the family values. Then many other things, right? So what I added at that time when I was looking at this, I said the only C that's missing is, that's the C which I've added, is context. And it is extremely crucial that if you do not contextualize this application, you cannot succeed, because context changes everything. If you are a financial services, digital transformation context person, or you are in a mechanical industry, or you are into agriculture, or you work in government services, or for that matter, you are doing digital transformation in Indian ecosystem versus in Switzerland here, it's a different context. You cannot apply the same cut, as I said, you cannot cut the whole thing from the same cloth. You cannot apply the same cookie cutter approach. Contextualization is extremely critical. So that is very important. You need to have core competence. You need to have a strong character. You need to have a community to back you up. And finally, make sure you have extremely strong contextual awareness if you want to succeed in digital transformation. And with that, I'll just quickly close it with some learnings that I have captured for you. And then, of course, we'll get into the discussion. The first and foremost, I have never seen any problem being solved by being in the servant leadership mode. It's a bit of a controversial statement, because servant leadership is talked quite a lot. I'm personally not a big believer in servant leadership. I rather like to work with people rather than for people. And the reason for that is, in my view, the leaders need to be gardeners, not servants. They need to cultivate the soil so that the plants can grow themselves, not work as servant on that. And second thing is, this is also a pretty old service mindset, which creates a bit of an artificial divide between different parts of organization. So instead, what I suggest is, if you want to be succeeding with this, work with people, build solutions with people, not for people. That's a very critical. Second part is be careful. It can burn people. Digital transformation is an endless pursuit, and sometimes we run way faster than what we can. Please modulate your pace. It's extremely critical. Take people, run at a speed for which you have trained, not at a speed which others want you to run, but you have not trained for it. And cognitive load is a real thing. Third, and this I've started to call as the three ilities of digital transformation or any modern transformation, is reliability, sustainability, and affordability. And this can be a talk in itself, so I'll not bore you with that. This is something which I've been after with my colleagues in industry forums. But these are the essential three ilities of any transformation. NFRs, by the way, for people who are not technologists, non-functional requirements. You can build anything that you want. Is it reliable? Is it sustainable? And is it affordable? I think these are the three essential realities that you should meet. One very important realization from a technology's perspective, but I think generally is, as the change is becoming faster and faster, the reality of technical debt, the debt that you accumulate, the shortcuts that you take, the compromises that you make in your pursuit of digital transformation is becoming real and real. You should explicitly manage it. And second is, your operational risk is not just a tech topic or a COO topic. It's a management priority on all levels. So technical debt and operational risk, I highly recommend, are explicit priority for management if you are undertaking digital transformation. And one more thing before I come to an end is, please do not undervalue governance. I'm a technologist from my whole life, and through early stage of my career, I also, like any of us technologists, thought, yeah, governance, another overhead, bureaucracy, XYZ. But there is a reason the Spider-Man dialogue exists. With great power comes great responsibility. And unfortunately, all of us are not necessarily good with uncontrolled autonomy. So at some point, we need to bring in some manageable constraints, which means governance cannot be undermined. But now I come to the last of my message, which is the heart of transformation strategy for me: language. Many people talk about culture, this and that. For me, it is language. If you want to change the culture, change the language. Change the language in which you would like the transformation to happen. Culture will follow suit. Don't try to change the culture per se. Whatever you want to do, whatever your intent is, make those intents part of your day-to-day language. Make sure you're speaking the language of the future that you would like to have. Culture will follow. It's very crucial. And this is going to be a long journey. So make sure you deliver. Don't just show PowerPoints. Don't just give dreams to people. Delivery changes everything. And this is going to be a long run. So be ready for a marathon. Here, the only two things that I keep telling my team as well is patience and perseverance. Those are the only two things that are going to pay. So stay hooked. You need to be in this for the long game, right? So that's all. With that, I'll stop. But I can understand nobody saw AI on this. So people might be wondering, I might be talking about AI, but there is a reason I didn't talk about it, because everybody in the world is talking about it, and maybe we can discuss about it as we get into a Q&A. And with that, I'll stop now. And I'm back to you. I'll stop sharing. We can probably start the next stage of our discussion today. Thank you, everybody.
Sorry for that insightful session. Particularly like the line about leaders need to be gardeners, how we need to cultivate and work with people. Ashish, Professor Ashish, if you'd like to start the open discussion.
So thank you very much, the alumni committee, for inviting Mr. Dinkar Gupta. It was very philosophically loaded. Some of the points was hard to understand. Maybe I would like to. I came with some questions, and I thought maybe I have to now rework on the questions. So it was more on. See, I wanted maybe to get more details on certain things that you said. I think maybe I'll start with. I think I've watched one of your earlier videos. You always emphasize on this socio-technical dimension or socio-technical thinking when it comes to managing solutions. So even in our discipline, when I have a hard time kind of telling about my discipline. So when I say IT, then people kind of ask me, are you IT, or what is this IS? So what is the difference? And many of our colleagues also start questioning when I teach digital transformation. This is a strategy related subject. You should be teaching programming. So why are you coming? So I wanted to you to give kind of little more clarity when it comes from you. That I think they would also kind of agree that there is a difference between IT and IS, and I think most of it comes from the socio-technical angle that you have been saying. What's your idea?
Thanks, Ashish. Thank you for the question. This is at the heart of this whole debate, right? One of the slides, maybe you've seen my video, but it's not here, is when I joined KPMG, what I did was exactly what he just mentioned. The organization that was there before me was called IT Services. Yeah. And the first thing that I did is I followed the last advice that I just gave. If you want to change the culture, change the language. I just started calling the department Digital Business Technology. And this was a very intentional change, not just to change the name. It was intentional that, look, I'm not after now another form of IT service evolution. What I am after is digital transformation of my firm. And that would require all of us to think in a different frame how digital will be achieved. Digital won't be achieved with a next new technical model, next cloud, next programming model. And that people, you would always assume it to be the next IT service, which is so people started calling. So that was my first question. Ashish can probably connect. So you are the guy who is in charge of this infrastructure and the new laptops we get. And I said, yeah, one of my team, but I'm actually a change guy. I said, what does that mean? I said, I'm here to change the business, not to change the IT infrastructure. So absolutely, you're right. This intent, that's why I said that last message, that is at the heart of socio-technical system. If you would change that framing, that the problem, and that's why the intersection of organization, architecture, and technology, the IT is only placed at the technology stage, right? People forget that won't work unless the organization is designed to deliver that. If you do not change the incentive structure of people who participate in that, right? If you do not change how people will interact with each other. My first point that I said, work with people, not for people, has been quite controversial for many people. But I am the one who will give you requirements and you'll deliver me that service. I'm sorry, I'm not providing service here. I'm not a tea vendor, right? So to say, general, I'm having a very open conversation with like-minded peers. So the point is, these are 2-3 things which are extremely important in terms of addressing the core of socio-technical system. That's why what I've seen is that this transformation actually happens with the competence of not just IT, and Ashish will probably agree to that. We have to learn economics, sociology, psychology, many different aspects. And that, if you do not understand, you remain just an IT guy or IT person, right? I don't know if that was a long answer, but that's what's been at the core of the chain that I've been trying to do.
Actually, I wanted that to come from an expert who is actually a practitioner. So we keep saying these things, and sometimes they discount. So many of the engineering students who soon after the engineering, they feel that if you get the technology right, then that's it. So what is all the other softer side, which is often the discounted. So let me come to the second important aspect, the main topic, in fact, the leadership. So I think you gave a very radically different kind of leadership. The definition you were saying, it is multidisciplinary leadership.
Correct.
We're emphasizing on these 3 aspects. And you were saying about you need to grow the leadership bandwidth. So how do you, are you hinting that when you are essentially looking at a very highly evolving digital kind of environment where traditional leadership, which is very hierarchy oriented leadership, that doesn't work in a digital transformation scenario? Or is this something, the new kind of leadership, which is something those strides are aligned with the kind of evolving landscape? Could you elaborate a little bit more on? I think we are not very familiar with the kind of leadership which you were saying. I'm not from the HR or OPA, and even other students might find it maybe difficult to understand what it was. How different is it from the hierarchy-oriented leadership?
It's actually the intersection of hierarchy and mission command. I don't know if colleagues on this call are aware of the mission command model of leadership. What essentially talks about is, so 2 things, let me clarify first. Hierarchy is important because hierarchy is essential to solve complex problems. You cannot solve problems that in entirety, you have to break it down into pieces. So hierarchy is one natural mechanism in organization model. However, how you approach hierarchy is changing. So when you look at things like mission command or decentralized execution, you fundamentally change two things. Earlier, what used to happen in hierarchy, when you're taking a decision at a lower level, you will pass on information back to the people who are authorized to make a decision, and then 2 levels down, the decision will come to you. Right? That's a classical hierarchy model. Unfortunately, the distance between these layers means the people who are making a decision have no real day-to-day information to make that decision. It's quite lengthy, latency-sensitive process. It'll take few days. I'll give you a practical example, right? Let's kill the theory. You've probably heard of the steering committees, everybody. Steering committees and executive committees and all. Steering committees for a large-scale transformation program. I'll give you an example. Let's say I'm doing HR transformation for my company over the next 3 years, or an ERP transformation, or I'm transforming a particular technical infrastructure, or launching the new banking channels for a bank. All of these are examples of multi-year transformation program. Typically, you will see hierarchy being placed. There is going to be a steering committee. Underneath, you will have somebody called the management team. Then there is individual functional leads and all. Somewhere down there, the decisioning happens. And this is then passed up 3-4 layers before the decision comes down. This typically means by the time your decision comes, you've either lost the context situation in which the decision was relevant, so decision becomes irrelevant, or it is not in line with the reality. And it requires a lot of effort. Efficiency is a hit. Instead, what you do in this model is you empower the team which is nearer to information to make those decisions. And there, one of the issue used to be, you can't have, so you used to have, you run this part of the decision, but that's one person. Now, one person cannot have all the information. And as I said about, when we look at this chain, 3 things are important. Can somebody reasonably argue about and back the value related answer? Somebody who can look at, okay, let me put it very simply. I have 3 words to this and all of us understand why, what, and how. Why is the value one? Can somebody question, reason, and rational about why this decision needs to be done? That's the value statement. What is the design? Quality, architecture, all that stuff. How is execution, delivery? So what we do is, why we create a leadership bandwidth that these 3 decision-making ones, why, what, and how, can be combined, and that too at the lowest level possible. So it's not hierarchy, is not there. At the lowest level possible, closest to where the decision will impact. So that's the only subtle difference that comes in here. And that's the reason for the leadership case, because you need multiple disciplines to make that decision. So you need to know that it's not just about technology, but also interaction with other teams, political dynamics, reality, financial implications. All of those things are then passed down. So you enable your teams to make a decision at their place rather than asking them to pass information and make a decision.
Oh, yeah, that's more clear now. Maybe I'll go to slightly a different topic, which is anyway, you were discussing about cultural transformation. So in addition to the transformation journey that you are talking about, the KPMG transformation journey, I think you also do the digital transformation consulting offered as consulting services. So increasingly, many of the traditional firms wants to transform themselves to avoid all kind of disruptions. So what do you see? So if you when I look at some of these traditional firms, you can see that there are many of them aspire to become like digitally native companies like Amazon or the Uber. But when you look at these companies, even though traditional companies a lot of find so much to admire and learn from these digital companies. Some of the qualities of these traditional company, how do you retain those when you are transforming, or how do you my question is how to embrace aspects of digital culture without exposing themselves to a less desirable elements of these digitally native companies. Like often Uber and all, you will find that they are dismissing regulators, exploiting drivers, failing to protect workers. So how do you, when the traditional companies are kind of transforming, how do they retain these elements of what works for them and also incorporate the newer aspects of the digital firm, which is increasingly required to succeed in such a scenario?
Yeah, it's a constant struggle, right? The problem is that and we didn't have time for it, but there are 2 very important things to consider. The so-called traditional companies are successful because they've done a great job in delivering the value that these companies were supposed to deliver. So it's not that they don't know how to run their business. On the other hand, they are also always constantly under pressure from these FANGs, right? They keep moving faster, they keep earning more money, 15 times more than what this groups were earning. On the other hand, they also keep telling that there is a different way to do things. And they say, yeah, I've been doing this for the last 100 years, I've been successful. Suddenly you tell me there is something else. So this is like a classical, what I call an Indian middle class problem. On the other hand, you have these big guys who have enough money, a lot of technical resources and no restrictions, so to say. On the other hand, I've been successful, I've been doing this for a while, so now why should I change? But that's the constant struggle. But that's where the reality comes in. So what holds you together is what is your core brand identity and core values. Two things are very critical. For example, for my firm, being the most trusted and trustworthy professional services organization is the core around which we are built. As long as I'm not undermining them, I can start to pursue some of the things I can learn from others. That's the value around which. Then there are certain core corporate values. You've probably seen we have two very important values. One is called dare to do, and second, together for better, which means collaboration. Multidisciplinary model is core of our firm. So what happens is you have this North Star, so to say, of values. And what you try to do is, while you take some steps towards trying to experiment with what the FANGs tell you, what some other groups are successful with, you hold them against those values. And as long as those are being held in high regard, you, of course, work with that. And that's where agility comes now. So you do not start a new big bang program to become like Amazon. What you can do is take some inspiration. I'll give an example, a practical example right now. When I started, after that, I was telling my team that we should continue to improve resilience of our infrastructure, because as we transform more towards digital, we would be having a lot more of our services becoming digital rather than traditional professional services by expert, which means the workload will start increasing, right? So we should try to stress our system so that it can withstand that kind of things. And the example I gave was, look at what Google is doing in SRE, look at what Amazon does with fault injection services and all. So some of my colleagues said, yeah, good, but all seem to be buzzwords. That's the first example that comes in, right? But then what you do is, what we did was, we, instead of starting a program around that, we started building this capability into our platforms. And then now, over the last year or so first 2 years, we didn't do anything because that would have been a big change. Now that the platform has built those capabilities, our teams have started doing experiments around that capability. So they are supported by tools. We have taught them what it means. We have brought in the language of how to build a reliable system. And now they've started doing smaller experiments in different areas. Not the entire company, some areas where we are making changes. And this year, I'm much more happy that people are actually using that as a day-to-day method to improve resilience. So you slowly bring that change. The only thing is, your value system and your core brand cannot be tarnished with that. I think for a corporate and for as I say, the middle class companies, good companies, they are doing their good business, but they have a reason to exist. And the customers, whether B2C customers or firm like mine, which is a B2B professional services provider, there is a very strong trust on that brand. And you cannot jeopardize that brand just because I want to be like Amazon. So I guess that balance keeps you in check.
Yeah, that is a very important point. I think my question leads from this same question. I think a lot of AI, I think I'll bring in AI. So nobody asked about AI.
Yeah.
So continuing with your answer on this values. So we are, when it comes to India, we are a populous country. We have a lot of stomachs to feed, and we have a lot of people to work. Now we are talking about all these AI and automation and all. I think since we are exposed to all these MNCs, it will come sooner or the other day. It will come. So how do we balance it out? And some of these companies like Tata and all are known for their value systems. When you join that company, you will retire from that company. So now again, this fast moving, you cannot retrain some of these people. You might have to retrench. So how do you balance that value thing of kind of retaining your value systems of kind of empowering people or kind of helping people versus the pressure to kind of automate and kind of retrench a lot of people and kind of get all these the people. Some of these people on Instagram, they keep saying that 45 is the new age of retirement. You cannot train. So all these conversations that they, how do you kind of balance it out as a country for India? What is the way forward?
Correct. That's one of the reasons actually unless it's an AI topic, I stay away from AI on everything, because it's all of us have this problem that everything is solved and it's the next world hunger and peace problem solving issue. No, it's not that, right? World is more than AI. So to give you a quick answer, there's no quick answer on this. We have to be, first of all, honest. This is still an evolving field. We are all dealing with this, but I do have a couple of things on this. What you need to do is, instead of opinions, you need to face the real facts. And what you can do is launch some small experiments, even in terms of value. So I'll come to 3 points. Let's start with the first one. First of all, let people work with this. If you fight it, it's a losing battle. You have to let people use this. Only then you will start to see not just where it shines, but where it doesn't. Because otherwise you are just trying to tell people, because it's an emotional element right now. Everybody's using AI. Why are you asking me not to use it? And the world is becoming better with AI, but that is just an opinion right now. Have you experienced a better world with AI? To a certain extent, people have, others not so much, right? Let people experience with this. The second thing is this whole argument about, if you don't know AI, you are not there. X is dead, only AI is new. Yeah, fine. This is not the first time X is dead argument, right? So fair enough. This will pass. What's very important is, again, what I said earlier, those attributes that I talked about digital. Build the AI solution and tell me if those attributes are still there. If you can tell me, I'll take your argument and have an AI-driven digital solution. What I'm after is that if you build an AI-based solution, will it evolve with time? Will it adapt to changing conditions? I have a very good example, and that comes from India, our own area, right? India is a context which doesn't exist anywhere else. So you build a solution which seems to be running so great in US or somewhere else, bring it to India and field test in India. Give me the proof of the pudding from the context. That's why the leadership context is very critical for me. I can do all the other 3 things. AI is going to help me become more competent XYZ. Let me perform it in the context of Indian market. When you have 300,000 people in one day logging onto this and trying to ask, when you have 3 crore people suddenly vamping it up, if you have your railway system trying to use AI at scale at that level. So expose it to those aspects which I said are the 3 new entities. One, will it be reliable in the context in which people are pushing that this is a success? In Indian context, reliability is not same as in Switzerland. It's 800,000 people who live in this country, right? 8 million people. Come to India, it's half of Delhi. Well, not even half of Delhi. Let's put it that way, right? Second thing is what I said is sustainability. Will it sustain? And sustainability here doesn't mean climate, by the way. When I mean sustainability from different dimensions. Is it sustainable in a long term as a business capability? Is it sustainable in a long run from a climate perspective? Is it sustainable in a long run from people management perspective, from talent management perspective? So sustainability has different angles, of course. And last but not the least, yes, AI looks great right now. Can you please chart an economic graph of affordability over a period of time? Does the demand and price curve and the cost curve meet somewhere? So if you look at these 3 entities, the fourth one I'll just tell, and that is actually one of my topics of research these days. It's the whole which I said for one of the book in my view, that morality is the new non-functional requirement. That's the new entity. So prove those different ethical dilemmas when AI systems are being done, again in context of India. An ethical dilemma for a Westerner philosophy person in Europe versus US is not the same ethical dilemma for an Indian person, right? So what happens is, if you put that context piece and these 4 entities, you will start to see that the hype starts to come closer to reality, and then you can argue. There is a reason, and I think I have my view on this. There is a reason that 55-year-old senior in my team is valued. And I always take example of, I don't know how many of you watch Indian movies, but the movie Lakshya, in which Amitabh Bachchan tells, that's the value of experience. When Om Puri tells, this is a before stop, it cannot be 1, it has 2, because in my experience, it takes that many seconds to fire. So experience has value, do not undermine it. What you can do is, and this is my third argument, use that experience to instill your values in AI. You can't say they're not valuable anymore. their role changes from being an executor to a coach to a mentor. Apprenticeship model will be very strong. Let these seniors take some of these AI-driven systems to be their apprentices. Train the next generation on how to cultivate those value into those systems, those automation and all. That's a huge heritage you've got. You cannot lose it. So as you can probably imagine, a long answer because its topic is pretty close to my heart. But yeah, that's the lens with which I see it. But let's be honest, we all are learning with it right now. It's a long way from here. But that lens of in a context, if I put those four realities, I generally get my answer. Is it real or is it fake?
Yeah, that was a very insightful answer, sir. Thank you so much, Dinkar
Pleasure.
Gupta. I had so much pleasure talking to you, and I think we can leave the stage to the rest of the audience for questions.
Sure.
Anna, over to you.
All right. Thank you very much, everybody. Also, thanks from my side, Anna, Anand, team, everybody. Hopefully, it was useful. I learned a lot through the interactions. I always appreciate another opportunity to learn, and hopefully, it was insightful for everybody. Thank you.
On behalf of the Alumni Committee and I am Trichy, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed speakers, Mr. Dinkar Gupta and Professor Ashish Viswanath, for taking the time to share their insights on digital transformation. A big thank you to all the alums and attendees for your active participation. You truly made this session very engaging. We hope today's discussion was insightful for all of you, and we look forward to seeing you at future events.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a nice
Thank you,
Sunday
sir.
evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, sir.
Thank you, everyone.